Okay, Xtag Australia have sent me this knife. It is the Jungle Kukri Machete, and it'll be an interesting review because I actually haven't used a commercial machete before. In the past I haven't been particularly impressed with machetes in general, so we'll see how we go. I like, first the thing, as I opened it up, what I did like, I liked the sheath. I thought the sheath looked very solid. I liked the shape of it. The blade is not shaving sharp. It's certainly not as out of the packet. It's not as sharp as I would have a knife. I like the profile. The handle is comfortable enough. It's possibly, I wouldn't mind it a little bit longer, and it's got a hole for a lanyard so that you can actually make it a little bit safer. I do like the profile of these style of knives. Actually, when I was asked to review a knife of my choice, I selected this knife because I do like the profile. It does really sort of lend itself to cutting. One thing that I was a bit surprised at was it was thinner than I was expecting, and the blade can actually bend reasonably. That can be possibly a plus and a minus. Very simple bevel, single grind on the edge, and as I said, it's definitely blunt at certain points, well, blunter than I would have it. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a cut test on a few of the golden canes I have around here, and we'll get some footage of that, and then I'll sharpen it up, get that edge much sharper, and we'll give it another test. Okay, I'm just going to take out one of these golden canes. They grow like weeds, and you have to prune these off all the time, so I'll put a bit of tension on it. Okay, so it's definitely not as sharp as the parang that I had the test on before. Let's see how the good test is running down there, see, quite lightly. So you can tell that it is cutting, but definitely needs to be sharpened. If I go along the edge, that's all right. Yeah, it's just catching when I go through it. So it definitely needs to be sharpened. I do think this profile is really assisting, to be honest. So I'm going to have a bit of an open grip. I won't grip it too strongly. Well, that's going through all right. Struggling a little bit. Going pretty hard at it. Let me go to the thick end. Yeah. Struggling to get through that. I'm just checking so we've got a little bit of a burr running along this edge here. Whereas probably as it passed through the palm, it's just the little burr there's bent over a little bit. The rest of the blade feels alright. So what I'll do now is I'll do a quick grind on it, get that profile looking a little bit, well, get the burr off, and we'll put it on a nice fine stone and get that edge sharper. Then we'll run the test again. Hi guys, just back on to testing this Kukri style machete. I've sharpened it up pretty well. So this is the knife again, Jungle Kukri. It's 1055, the steel. It's pretty sharp. I mean, I've shaved a bit of my hair off. It's not razor sharp, but it's certainly taken the hairs off. And this is the parang that I had on a previous demonstration. And this is actually not quite so sharp. The reason why I want to point that out is because how well something cuts is not just about how sharp the actual edge is. It's about a bit about the blade geometry, and we'll cover that a bit later. I'll sit down and we'll go through that. Right now, I haven't actually tested this knife. I've got a very similar stuff to test on, as I did on the other video with the parang video. So I've got some frangipani, which is a pretty soft in its green, very sort of typical of what you might find in a sort of a jungle sort of environment. That's pretty soft, fast-growing timbers. On the ground over here, we've got some palm fronds, And as I did in the other video, I've got some dry palm fronds. This typically can be very hard to cut. And I've also got sort of a semi-dry, sort of like light sort of, not hardwood, but sort of been cut out a couple months ago. Still actually showing green. And some pretty hardwood, some old eucalyptus. We're going to have a hack at that, just to get see how well the edge holds up. Okay, so first off, we'll go and try cutting a bit of this. So I'm just going to cut that up there. That's all right. Swing it over here. Let's see where we go. So, nice, sweet. Starts to chop through a bit of the thick stuff, twist a little bit, still make clean cuts. I'm trying a bit of this greener hardwood. Yes. So yeah, you can see that it's spun out a bit. That's to do with the bevel edge. It's a bit of a steeper bevel than on the para. It's still going through it. Okay, so we'll go to the palm frond. This is a bit thicker than the other piece, so first off what I'll do is I do a comparison cut with the other one. Now remember, this is slightly blunter than the other ones. Okay, so this is a pretty steep angle. We'll try with this one. To be fair, I'll take the this out. A bit too dry, we go for the green. Okay, so here we go. That's sweet. I'll be putting a little bit more effort in it than the other one, than the para. Okay, a good test for me is when I cut the tips, not right at close, but at the sides. And that's cutting well enough. So that, and of course, as soon as you run it down the edge, now it's not quite as cutting as well as the paring was, but it's marginal, very close. Now, I grabbed a little bit. Okay, so not quite the same from as I had before, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah. Not wanting to go through that. Check with this one. We'll see how this goes with this. Come up a little bit so I'm not on the same spot. Yeah, they cut a little bit better. Still not easy. A little bit better. Okay, we'll go with the brown. Yeah, just grab them a little bit. That's sweet. Nothing wrong with that. And we got the bit of hardwood. So, really what I want to do with this is just give the blade a bit of a hard test. Get any damage to the blade. I'm not really focusing on getting it to chop through this. Obviously it's chopped through all right, but just see if it is burring at all, which it isn't. Now I'm treating this very lightly, very carefully rubbing my hands over this. So for all those freaking out, I do that all the time. Just give it a bit of a comparison again. See how that bites. It's a bit. So that bites a lot deeper in than the para. And we'll go into the reason why that is in a minute. Sorry, that bite's a bit deeper than the Kukri machete. Okay guys, back down at the table. We've done those cutting tests, and Mike's dropped off a few knives of his too that we've had over the years he's collected. And I just wanted to explain why different knives sort of perform slightly differently. And I thought the best way I would do that would be to sort of show you some blacksmithing chisels that I've got. Okay, so this chisel, first chisel here, you can have a look at that. You can see it's a sort of very sharp angle. This is called a hot cut, and it's designed to cut red hot metal, and you can punch through quite large or cut through quite large pieces of metal with this as long as it's red hot. Okay, so now this is more of a cold chisel, so it's a much blunter angle. So this makes it more robust because there's more steel on the sides to keep that blade at the top there intact. So you can cut mild steel bars through this quite easily. Now just flicking back to the hot cut, you can see because it's cutting a softer material, there's not so much metal on the sides here that need to support the cutting edge at the top. So I would not want to cut a mild steel bar with this because it would blunt it pretty quickly. Okay, so now if we equate that to the knives that we've got here. Okay, so this is Michael's knife. I bought this for him while I was living in Bali. You can see it's quite a thick knife. This is the bevel edge here. Got sort of the bevel sort of it's sort of quite a decent sized bevel here. Now, okay, this knife here is the parang from my video. Now, I've actually damaged this blade here a little bit by cutting some real hardcore knotty timber. So you can see that at this portion here, because this is designed for cutting green timber really well, I sort of just went past the margins a little bit with this one. So I'll need to fix this one up. So this is of course more like the hot cut. It's a much sharper bevel. We'll go to this parang. Again, it's a thicker knife than the machete style. The bevel is a little steeper on this one, so this will be a little bit more robust. Probably a sort of a similar to the jungle Kukri in a sense. It's sort of a hybrid between these two versions. So this is a bit more robust. It's got a bit more endurance when cutting, but it won't have that beautiful slicing ability through green timber that this parang has here. So they're all different. Now this is getting onto the machete range. You've got 3 machetes here. These 2 here are Michael's. He's had them for a long time. Good quality machetes. Now you'll see as a machete is quite different. You tend to have a lot of flex in a machete blade.
Show that again.
Okay, well, let's try this one. So you got a fair amount of flex here in the machete blade. Mike just didn't catch that, so I'll do it again on this one. So you can see how much flex is in there. Now, see on the jungle Kukri, there's still a fair amount of flex in this one. And you'll see on this parang, oh geez, that's nowhere near the same amount of flex. Okay, so we'll put it all together here. This machete is a thinner blade, but the bevel edge is actually a much blunter. It more equates to the cold chisel style. Sorry, not cold steel, cold chisel edge here. And what that does is it actually provides more support to the cutting edge. Therefore, this knife has more endurance than if it had a much steeper. If we reshape the bevel to make it more like the cold steel, or the hot cut. If we did that, we made this. Say if we extended this down a couple more millimeters and actually ground the blade out so that the bevel edge was much sharper. This would slice a lot better than it is, but then would lose some of that endurance. So what Cold Steel have done is that they've compromised between the two. They don't know how you're going to use the knife. You don't know what materials you're cutting. So they've designed it to be a good general all-round purpose knife. Cuts some hardwood, performs pretty well on some green wood. So that's why the bevel edge is like that, and that's why it performed differently to the parang, this one here. Now, on the Cold Steel range, this is 1055, which is a good high carbon steel. I found the blade to be comfortable. It obviously would benefit if I had a lanyard on there and I could put it around my hand there, so if I accidentally let go of the knife for whatever reason, it wouldn't go flying and hurt someone. Probably fly back and hurt me, but at least that's hurting me, not somebody else. So this knife here in Australia, and it varies over the different parts of the world, but this knife here in Australia is around about $45. Exact Australia, they have it on their website for $45, I believe, including GST. When you consider that how well this performed compared to the price, that's a very good value for money. Cold Steel call this their workhorse or their budget knife. They have a more expensive Kukri knife, and so they call this the workhorse. Now, I found that sort of quite interesting because it sort of brought up the question, or the point. Many people buy, okay, I'll explain again. I'll start again on that. A knife is a tool, and if you're not going to use it as a knife should be used, you know, slicing and chopping and doing everything you want it to do on a camp, you might want to, use it a bit fine, or scraping away at stuff. It's a tool that you want to use. Then when you sort of want to be able to take it to a sort of level of abuse, just to the point where you don't want to be worried about the knife because of how much you paid for it. So this is a $45 knife. I can take this quite happily down and chop away merrily at quite a few different things. I'm not going to worry about that so much. Now, some custom made knives, this size of knife, you might pay $1,000 for. Is one of those knives that Tim Lively, the guy I used to know in America through some blacksmithing forums. He actually made a beautiful Bowie, drop point Bowie, probably of a similar size to this parang here, to this machete here, and that was over $1,000. That was sold on the day he put it up for sale. So I can't imagine myself buying a knife for $1,000, taking it out to a camp and merrily whacking away at firewood. I would not be happy to do that. So the point I'm trying to make is, when you purchase a knife with the thought that you're going to use it, and you want to be happy to use it and not worry so much about damaging it. Some people don't even want to have a little scuff mark on the side of the blade. That's they get a bit concerned about that. So, getting to the point. Thanks, Adrian, for letting me test this knife. Adrian's from Exact. Guys, get a hold of him if you want to try some of these knives. It's a great. It performed really well. It was great value for money. Give them a check out if you're interested in sort of your first purchase and a parang / machete. Give these guys a check out. Catch you guys later. Thanks.